Hi, everybody, and welcome to The Horror Within Me. My name is Eric, but I go by Foxy Batman. I grew up in a very chaotic household, and as a means of escape, I immersed myself into the world of horror. Recently, I decided to pursue my passion and start my own horror podcast to talk about all things in the horror universe. So, with that being said, let's go get spooky. Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of The Horror Within Me. This week's episode, we are focused on J horror. And for this particular episode, I've invited back Grace from episode 1 because she is my go-to girl for all things Japanese, not just horror, but in general. Welcome back, Grace.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yay. So, you gave me a list of suggestions for some Japanese anime because I have some experience with the horror universe of, like the Americanized, the Ring, the Grudge, the One Missed Call kind of thing. But I'm not really involved in the anime aspect. Even in video games, I know a couple video games I play that I would consider Japanese horror. But I am so happy that I've decided to dive into more of this because I'm pleasantly surprised by the things that you exposed me to.
I gave you a good list of beginner kind of all over the place Japanese. So a lot of the titles that I gave you, you watched at least an episode or two. And
Yes.
I know that you loved one, and some other ones you were like, I don't know. This one's a little too much. This one's not really what I would deem horror. But a lot of
I try to be open because I think there's a lot of people that think of horror in one way. Especially with Japanese horror, you can't think of it in any real category.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Yes.
I liked all of them, but sorry, I think somebody trying to bust in here. It's our own horror episode. Yeah, so I really liked Erased. I like them all, but I got invested in Erased.
Yes.
And if anyone out there who's not sure what we're talking about, Erased is an anime show that I found through Grace, but it's available on Netflix, but it's the anime cartoon. I had to be specific because there's also a TV version and a live action movie version. I didn't watch them. I don't plan on watching them.
Don't want to soil how good the anime is.
And I'm terrible with names and characters. I can't think of the guy's name.
That's totally fine. The premise of Erased, I would say, is more of a mystery thriller in the genre of Japanese horror, and that's
I think what it really boils down to is everyone thinks about it's like the butterfly effect. You know what I mean? Like, what is it? If I make this decision, what's gonna happen? And basically, the show follows the main guy, and he's 29 now. It's like 2006, and he is walking down, delivering a pizza. He works for a delivery guy, and he sees this blue butterfly, and then he talks about how he goes back in time 5-10 minutes every now and again, and he's supposed to pay attention. It's kind of like he has to save his classmate who was murdered back when he was 10 years old or something in 1988, which I thought was really interesting, and immediately invested in this show.
Yes.
For my first real anime show that I've ever watched, by the way.
I'm really happy that Erased was it then, because a lot of people start out with this is a whole nother thing, horror aside, people will start out with a shitty campy anime and be like, it's the greatest thing I've ever seen. Yeah. And then I was a young weeb. I did it. I started with Naruto and Inuyasha.
Everybody started with Inuyasha. never watched, but I had a friend who watched Inuyasha.
It's very nostalgic. I wouldn't say it's the worst anime of all time. It's definitely not the greatest. And don't get me started on how bad Naruto is.
Yeah, Naruto is... which one is he?
And that's the yellow-haired ninja.
Yes, okay.
Awful.
Oh my god, he's very popular. I see him all over.
He's very popular. It's a terrible anime. Terrible.
Okay. And so... The other ones that I watched that I actually really enjoyed, Parasite. I didn't finish it because also the difference is Erased is 12 episodes, Parasite is 23.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to get exposed to this world quickly. So I was like, let's do 1 or 2 episodes. I didn't anticipate finishing Erased, but anyway. Really like Parasite. Very different type of horror.
Yes, it is.
But it's also creepy, but I like the hand.
I like him, yeah. Parasite is a classic. I think the one that's on Netflix, I believe, is a newer, redone version.
Okay.
But Parasite is an old classic.
Okay.
So, just like in the vein of like Junji Ito, there's like a lot of old classics.
Now, I just started Junji Ito yesterday, the day before, the Junji Ito collection, just to get an idea. I think it's interesting. It, to me, really shows the different kind of stories that you can tell. Instead of one specific season of something, it's very good to see what the mindset in Japan, especially, and what I've noticed through my research for Japanese horror is that when you look up J-horror, it's very focused on the movies from the 90s, early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really hear anime as in the category.
Yeah.
I think it is because it's horror.
Yeah.
And it's Japanese horror. And I feel like that's where, because there's a lot of questions that I've come across where, what happened to J-horror? That's peaked and then it just disappeared. I feel like it didn't disappear. I feel like it turned into anime. The popularity became anime.
Definitely, I agree with you. And a lot of people, still to this day, when, you say anything about anime, they think like, oh, it's a cartoon, it's for kids. Absolutely not. If your kids are sitting there watching...
Okay, if they're watching Devilman Crybaby...
If they're watching Devilman Crybaby, your child needs therapy, and I'm sorry.
Okay, that was fucking graphic.
To this day, if I think too hard about a scene from Devilman Crybaby, I will go into a full-blown panic attack. You definitely didn't have enough time to get there in that anime yet. But would you like me to spoil the scene for you?
I mean, that's fine. I enjoyed the show. That's definitely something that you can't go in leisurely watching.
No.
It's very heavy.
Yes.
Like the Satanism aspects, like the orgy scenes.
Mm-hmm.
It's very graphic.
I had a lot of issues with Devilman. I watched it in less than a week, and that was like an after work show. Like, I'm gonna come home and, eat a snack and watch some anime. And I regret watching it. I still to this day regret watching it.
How did you come across it?
Oh, it showed up in my Netflix. You should
suggestions.
Watch this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've heard of Devilman before because there's plenty of other Devilman, series out there. This was just Netflix's original adaptation of it.
I think this is my new obsession. It's like Japanese horror anime. Because I'm on Funimation now, and like you can pick the genre, and I'm in horror, and there's like a couple of titles that I've seen that I'm already like kind of want to see. It's like there was one that I saw yesterday. It was Blue Exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of want to check that out.
I haven't seen that one, but let me know what you think of it. There's, unfortunately, a lot of it is so hit or miss. It's like some of it is like actively scary. Some of it is just kind of like
bizarre.
Tits.
Yeah, they love their tits.
They do.
Japanese, but a theme that I was noticing is I watched a couple of like fan-made documentaries on like J-horror on YouTube, and a lot of things that I've realized, even in some of the things I've watched, it's a lot of suicide.
Yes.
And I guess there was a high rate of teen suicide at some point in the early millennium. But even when you think about it now too, like think of The Grudge.
Mm-hmm.
The beginning of The Grudge, the guy like is on the balcony and his wife's like, "What are you doing?" And he turns around and he looks and he just like flips off the side of the balcony and kills himself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a scene that I seen on a different show or different movie that they kept talking about on this documentary, where like I don't remember the number, but let's just say like 36 schoolgirls are standing in the subway and they all are holding hands and they all just fall down and get fucking splattered.
Yep.
Like,
yep.
What is that about?
Okay, so we're gonna deep dive in here.
Yeah, we need to do a deep dive because for our listeners, like they're
so with not just Japanese genres but also with other Asian genres, the main difference to me between our horror and their horror is, for us, you know, there's a lot of hack and slash and a lot of like we're just here for the gore, and
the gore fest.
Sometimes the storylines like really aren't.
They're not there.
They're not there at all. Like
I need a story.
I know.
Well, that's why the whole elevator horror thing is a whole thing now with like Hereditary and stuff like it.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a whole episode on elevator horror later.
Yeah.
But
so with Japanese, and I've been lately watching a lot of Korean horror dramas.
Really?
Yes, and they're so good.
So I feel like Korean people they ever mentioned the Korean horror were also trying to make movies like The Ring, like Ringu and Ju-On.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, the thing about them is a lot of like if you watch Squid Games.
I've never watched Squid Games.
Yeah. Oh God, you haven't watched Squid Games.
I know. You know, I can't fall into the craze. Everyone's all like, "Oh, Squid Games," and I'm like,
"The
no.
craze is gone. Now's the time."
Okay.
I also I recently watched All of Us Are Dead. That was amazing.
Why do I feel like I've heard of this?
It was on Netflix. It's on Netflix. It's a zombie flick, and I don't like zombie stuff, and it was just very good.
Okay.
But a lot of the common themes that you're gonna see with K-dramas and anime, and you know, even if it's not something that you pick up on right away, there are always underlying connotations. There's underlying like moral standpoint.
Yeah.
Like notes being made, like, so with Squid Games, the moral underlying of the story was the debt crisis in South Korea is...
Well, listen, they I did pick up on this because they talked about it on the documentary, but they talk about how they make these movies with, like, the social climate that's going on. Like,
they do.
Technology was a big thing with Ringu,
Mm-hmm.
and the Grudge was different because they were saying it's because it was a curse it was a haunted house, but it wasn't just in the house. Like the curse became on you, and that I can't remember her name, but the spirit curse followed you and would kill you. But think of one missed call was a curse to the phones.
Mm-hmm.
Ringu was the tape, and by the way, the girl from The Ring, I can't think of her name either. I'm terrible.
Name's not our forte.
She's going to be the newest killer in Dead by Daylight this Friday. She gets released. I believe it's Friday or sometime this week. But yeah, it's a whole chapter in Dead by Daylight.
Go watch him stream on Twitch.
Yes.
It's going to be a good time.
Yes. Watch her climb out of all the televisions in the map. I'm very excited. But I like that it's... I think her name's Sakura or something. She is... The people in Dead by Daylight are not the Americanized Ring. They are doing Ringu. Like the survivor is an Asian Japanese man that they have in the map with her. So
they're doing it right.
Yeah, which I just don't know why, you know, I decided to do like the interest in the J-horror before I even heard about this. It's just funny how it's resurfacing now, like in other aspects.
Yeah. So, like, with an avant-garde kind of horror anime. So let's take, you watched a snippet of Junji Ito's collections. So
I'm going to finish that. I think that's going to be something I do on my own.
Yes, Junji Ito is the master of horror. So you were talking about Fuchi, the fashion model.
Oh my god. She was
terrifying. So
I don't know why they were like, oh, let's just pick her. She's a fashion model. I'm like, no. Why is nobody listening to this man? Like, she was terrifying. And like I said, it's just a collection, so they don't give you the whole story. And now it honestly left me wanting more because it just stopped. I'm like, I want to know what happened.
Yes.
I want to know what the hell that is. But another common theme that I've noticed with J-horror is you don't get full explanations.
No.
They don't tell you
no.
like every reason.
You're left to try and either process what you just saw or decipher what you just saw. So for me, Fuchi, she's blonde. She has blue eyes. She is what you would say like I would say like a typical Americanized model. Mm-hmm. But she's, you know, got this really big mouth, good for eating the people.
Yeah.
So I would say like it goes to show like how the fashion industry is.
Yes. The competition, they'll eat up the competition.
They eat up the competition. They're
selfish. Which she
selfish.
literally does that in part of the episode that they do show. I'm like, what the hell? She ate the girl.
It's gluttonous and, you know, it's selfish and self-serving and, so it's little things that, like, it's not going to be expressly stated.
No. But they're always, like, vengeful, too. Like, there's a reason that, like, the ring girl, like she was, you know, out for revenge. She was, you know, same thing with the Grudge, with Ju-On. It was, if I remember correctly, wasn't she like an abused wife or something happened with her husband?
Yeah.
And like the kid, didn't they kill like the kid drowned?
Yep.
Like it was very sad.
Very, very sad. Yeah.
I mean, go ahead, girl, climb down them steps, creepy if you need to. Do the sound, do the. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, she had her. I think she was strangled or hung. Like she had her neck broken, which is why
her neck was definitely broken. Yes,
that's the only noise she could make.
And I know something. It's kind of sad when you think about it.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, and
I would be vengeful too.
And they're not very graphic movies either. Like with the gore either. It's very suspenseful. There was another one that they talked about from the '60s with the guy that's turning into a machine. That was interesting. Like there's so many ways that they tell their stories too. Yeah. No, it's like an endless supply of everything's different. Like there's common tropes, but it's like everybody's take on it is so different than what you would expect with anime horror. Yeah.
So it's very refreshing.
Yeah, and I think the good thing with anime right now, which is why it's still so popular, is because it is its own thing. I think that what I've noticed is it looks like the J-horror movies died down when America started cashing in on them. Japan saw that America liked what they were doing, so they were knocking out cheaper movies of sequels and they became repetitive, and it became cash grabs. And then the appeal was gone. Because now you're not making a new movie. You're not telling a new story. It's the same story.
It's the same story. The plot is lacking.
Did you know that they made a movie with the girl from The Ring and the girl from The Grudge? Like a Freddy vs. Jason kind of thing?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed.
I heard it was terrible. Freddy vs. Jason also wasn't the best movie. But, but like there's so many of these cash grab movies which people pay. I paid. I remember Freddy vs. Jason came out on my 17th birthday. But yeah, they made one of them. They made a 3D Ringu. Like,
I'm mad that they messed that up.
They made so many sequels to Ringu and Ju-On that, and they became the same story, the same thing. And even if I think isn't there like three rings in the U.S. and like 3 Grudges, and then they remade the Grudge. I didn't watch the Grudge remake.
No, it doesn't have Sarah Michelle Gellar.
It does not have Sarah Michelle Gellar. I also heard it was terrible, but apparently they remade Ju-On too before the Grudge was remade. So like, but like almost the same story. But every time I think of the Grudge, I think of the hand in the shower. Yes.
Oh yes.
I still think of that when I wash the back of my head. When did that come out? 2004?
I think so. It was like a very long time ago.
I was like 19 when I saw The Grudge.
I was like 10.
Yeah, I know. I'm old. It's fine. But no, and then they made the sequel.
I never saw it.
Oh, they kill her. Kill off Karen. Her name was Karen. Sarah Michelle. In the beginning. She goes falling down off the hospital roof. with her on her back.
Well, that's fucking rude.
Sorry, spoiler alert. The whole movie's based on her sister.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, meh.
It was alright. It wasn't The Grudge.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm sure even the actual original, Ju-On, The Grudge was probably, I think it was the same boy in the Japanese one and in the American one, because they came out like a year apart or something like that. Like, America was on it. We are fucking savages. They're like,
yes, we
oh,
are.
we just got one there in production. At least The Grudge was a good production.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, The Ring was also well done, too.
Yeah.
I picture the beginning girl with her face all distorted in the fucking closet. Yeah. Like, and then that was a big, I don't know, I mean, you were younger than me. I remember the craze of The Ring.
The Ring was something like, okay, so I watched The Grudge begrudgingly when I was young because my sister was super into it. And then when The Ring came out, I was like, I ain't fucking with that shit. Yeah. I was like, I'm not doing this one. I am not doing this all over again. I have seen it since then, but it's been years and years and years. Yeah. And
I mean, that was a good story. Like, she's trying to stop this curse from killing her kid because her son watches it. And then she watches it to pass it to her. Because that's what happens. Like, you don't die. If you watch it, you have 7 days to duplicate that tape and make sure somebody else watches it. And then you're no longer cursed. They are. Which is also kind of savage. Like, what do you do in a situation like that?
Who are you sending it to?
Do you know what I mean? Like, could you curse somebody else to save your own life?
Yeah.
Like, you have to live with that guilt, like, knowing that. I mean, let's get a little deep here. What would you do if you watched this tape and you got this phone call that's like 7 days, and like you like find out that you're gonna die? Do you give it to somebody else? I'm giving it to somebody else. I'm going to be very honest. I don't know.
I would, but I'd have to be very strategic about it.
Yeah.
I'd I'd send it to my second cousin Karen that does MLM sales and has a wide network of people. Be like, you can have this. Be like, oh, I sent you a tape. Make sure you watch it. It's my application for working under you or something. All right, bye.
Yep, and then block their number when they try to call you. Like, what the fuck did you send me, Grace?
Exactly. Yes, I'd definitely pass it on, but I'd be very strategic about it. Like, if I'm gonna go out, that's not how I'm gonna go out.
I'm sorry. I'm saving myself. It's human nature, right? Like, I mean, there's a lot of people in my life that I would die for.
Yes.
Like, if I knew that any of you had seen it,
be like, all
I
right.
would watch it for you.
What if we just lived in a big house together and on the 6th
day
we all just
I was gonna say that, like, we'll just have to keep passing and make sure we're keeping track. I'll forget, and then I'm like, damn, she's coming out the TV. She's
shit.
Here. God damn it. I feel like it'd be easier to get around her than it would be the Grudge, because she's just there.
She just pops out of the ceiling.
Like the scene where she's under the covers.
Yeah. No,
and
she's
then
like,
just disappear.
Come to snuggle.
Yeah, and you look and she's just like, ah. I'm like, no. My niece who's 20 is terrified. I've said this in my other podcast. Even my husband mentioned to me, he's like, you've been obsessed with the J horror thing in the last few episodes. I've heard you talk about this. I'm like, because it is so.
It's an iconic.
It's iconic, exactly. These are things like you don't think of. I mean, you think of, but you don't talk about it. Like, last week's episode was all about or 2 weeks. My episodes are about bi-weekly, usually. Yeah. But it was folk horror. And we talked about that with my guest, Sarah. And, things that you don't pay attention to, these little subgenres that you don't realize in movies, that they're what they're rooted into. Yeah. So, this is just... There was another movie, Dark Waters. I didn't know that was a J horror movie.
I haven't seen that movie in many, many years, but I remember it being terrifying.
I remember I've seen it probably just once because I just wanted to watch it. It was one of those things I was trying to find because, in my spare time, what do I want to do? I want to watch something scary. Yeah. And I forget the actresses the actress that played in it was also well known too. Like, they don't hire, unknown actresses for these roles for the American versions. Yeah. Maybe it was Jennifer Connelly? I don't know. But yeah, it was...
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway.
Am I looking at the wrong thing? Did this one come out in 2019?
No, this is old.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it was... I thought it was Jennifer Connelly, but it could be... I could be wrong. I'm not sure. I might not even be calling it the right name.
Okay.
I could be mistaking this with something else. But anyway. It is... I'm going to tell you right now. Hold on. We're going there. Stay with us. It is Jennifer Connelly. Yeah, I am correct.
What movie?
What is it called? It's called Dark Water.
What
Came
year
out
did
2005, PG-13 movie. Yes. Okay, and the little girl her daughter is played by, looks like Ariel Gade, or I'm going to probably kill that. But, yeah. It was interesting. I remember that movie. I did not know that was a J-horror movie, which was released before that.
I mean, that makes sense why it was such a good movie.
Yeah.
But yes, no, I remember watching this as a family movie night. We rented it from Blockbuster.
I love Blockbuster. I worked at Blockbuster for a while.
In 2005, I was in 5th grade, so I was like 10 or 11 years old.
I was 19.
Sorry. I'm sorry. But, reasonably too young to be watching this movie, but it stuck with me because it was beautiful and horrifying.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's been many, many years since I've seen it.
Another thing, with J-horror that I associate in the video game world. So, I remember on the PlayStation 2, they released a game called Fatal Frame, based on a true story.
I've never played Fatal Frame.
I played the original, the very first Fatal Frame, and I never completed it. It was terrifying. Like, you have the spirit camera. And what I liked about it, because I was, in the time I was playing the Resident Evils, where, survival horror, but this was a different way of survival horror, which was brand new to me in this Japanese world. Like, you are in Japan, you're in this mountainous mansion thing looking for, I believe, your brother, and you get this camera, but the spirits, and it's so fucking creepy. Like, you'll just be wandering the mansion, like, very quietly, and, like, a person will walk past, like a spirit, or like, be behind you, and it's terrifying, but then you have to fight the spirits. But the way that you fight them is with the camera. You have to take pictures of them with the camera. That's your bullets. You're capturing their souls.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
It is fun. And they released a new one on the PlayStation 5 recently. Fatal Frame, Maiden of Black Water.
I'm going to make James play it.
Going to buy it. It's only $40. And I know I say it's only $40 and I don't have it yet, but I also am out of space already on my PlayStation, so I need to get.
You gotta get an external hard drive.
Yes,
yeah.
I need to get an external, but I'm also playing this game. I'm playing Dead by Daylight. Obviously, that's my go-to right now between work and school. That's the little bit of time I play that. But I also play this game called Remothered, which is a different kind of style of Japanese horror. Inspired by this game that was called Clock Tower, that was something different in Japan, I forget. But if you think about it, even the survival horror video games are Japanese based. Like Resident Evil was Biohazard. Like think of the way that the premise of Resident Evil is a corporation in Midwest town in America is trying to create a virus and experimenting on things, and then it breaks loose and everyone becomes these flesh-eating monsters. Like that's a society-based concept. Godzilla, nuclear weapons.
Yep. Yeah, Godzilla has huge connotations behind the movie. And it's like, now if you're like 15 years old and watching the original Godzilla for the first time, you're not going to fucking understand what was going on. But
there's always underlying like real social issues. And then think of American horrors. Back in the day, like, really I love A Nightmare on Elm Street, but what is the first one going to, like, what is the underlying telling you? Like, don't kill the child murderer. He's coming back in your dreams. Like, it's very... There's,
like, no real moral of the story.
Yeah.
So it's which is
Survivor
fine.
Girl. Yeah. I love them.
But it's also, like, I love trying to figure out deeper meaning behind something.
Yes.
So it's... And I love, like... I just watched this really terrible Korean horror
Really
And
terrible.
it was really bad. Every time there was like an intense fighting scene, they played the same Imagine Dragons song over and over again.
Really?
Yes, it was so bad.
Okay.
But it was there was like radiation exposed, and when human beings that were exposed to the radiation felt like an intense emotion, like hatred or jealousy or something, they would mutate into these monsters.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and there was, most of them were very negative and very bad. Like the monsters are greedy and hungry and, this, that, and the other
It's
thing.
always greed.
Yeah, but there was a couple that were like motherly and protective, and there was a couple good monsters.
There's always a few good seeds, right?
Yes. So that was a very interesting watch from that standpoint. Again, the Imagine Dragons song was
Was it actually Imagine Dragons?
It was an Imagine Dragons song.
Okay, I thought you were being funny. It's actually Imagine Dragons.
It's
okay.
actually Imagine Dragons. I was like literally wheezing every time it was on. I was laughing so hard. But it goes. To me, that goes to show the power of human emotions.
Yeah.
The power of negative emotions and the power of positive emotions.
Yeah.
And keeping yourself centered and calm and. Yeah, no, I think that there's something really beautiful about that in general.
What do you think the future of Japanese horror is going to be like? You know what I mean? Like, looking back, like I said, watching those movies, and now they're kind of died down, and like the focus on Japanese anime is high, especially in the horror game, like the horror universe.
Yeah.
Do you think that we're going to move towards making those live action American movies? Do you think it's going to just stay what it is?
I certainly hope that it doesn't turn into a live action American fiasco, because we just so seldomly do things right here.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to see a classic turn into a monstrosity or a franchise.
They think that they know what it's about, and they miss the actual point.
They miss the whole point.
Sometimes you don't realize what's going on until later on when you are thinking about it, and people aren't thinking about it. They're like, "Oh, this would be a good movie. Let's do it live action." You're missing the underlying
whole ass point.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So it's I hope that there's never a lack of reading material, anime,
Yeah.
Korean dramas come out like it's nothing, like it's water on tap. Like,
I've not explored any Korean anything.
I thought
yet.
I would hate them. Oh my god, I'm watching this cutesy little love story one right now, and it's like the cutest thing I've ever seen. Very off-brand for me.
I mean, it's time to change, right? Off-brand, on-brand, like all this is different. Like I said, the Japanese anime, I didn't expect to fall into it, but I find myself thinking about, really diving into this.
Like really,
like really going into the anime part of it, and
yeah, I was at this point probably about last year where I was like, I'm just going to consume all of the anime content on Funimation and Netflix and Hulu instead of working. Don't tell my bosses.
Yeah, I mean, I do that with horror movies, but I used to. I haven't as much because I've been on like a hiatus for 2.5 years for school and work and weddings and house buying and stuff. But
that's fine. Yeah. But it's I got to the point where like I wasn't getting any work done at all because I was like, what? I need to deep dive everything all the time. So I stopped watching anime while I was working.
But I'm like that with like all the things like I have so much I want to do. And my brain is scrambled. Like, I want to read these books. I have so many horror books that I bought I haven't read yet. I have books, I have games, I have movies, I have shows.
Yeah.
There's and I need to balance it, I guess. Yeah. Which I will. Like I said, in 7 more weeks, I'm done school.
Yes.
So I'm going to really just invest in my passion.
Yes.
Of all these different horror things. And a big chunk of that I think is Japanese horror because first of all, Japan fascinates me.
Absolutely. I've been there.
Yes.
If, hit that comment section if you want to know what it's like.
Honestly, I would love to visit, but I would only visit after I've done a comfortable amount of research into the country that I would feel comfortable going there because I'm not. One thing I believe in, and this is in countries and organizations in people's homes, is be respectful.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, absolutely.
You
Yeah.
know, you don't have to agree with what other people want to do. And that's why, I'm not going to get political,
Yeah.
but you have to respect people's
I don't
boundaries.
I don't want to show up to the party looking like the ignorant American.
Yeah.
Like that's essentially how it is.
Yeah.
So I'm the same way.
But yeah, I would love to go there, especially on the horror aspect. If we can
Mm-hmm.
really dive into
Mm-hmm.
that, that'd be because they have a lot of really different. They have a different relationship with death than
Yes.
Americans do.
Yes. There's the reincarnation aspect of it, and then there's like the Christianity aspect of it, because Christianity had to make its way everywhere and be aggressive about it. Um, but I love a good reincarnation story.
There's not. I mean, there probably is enough. I just don't pay attention. You ever realize when you're on a topic, and maybe that's what's going on now that I've been like hyper focused on J horror. That everywhere I look, I see J horror.
Yes, yeah.
But like whenever you're hyper focused on one thing, you really start paying attention to the things that are going on. And I think like if anything that people take out and listen to this episode is that they start to pay attention to those subtle details that they're missing in the horror movies,
Yes.
or the games, or the books. Because like I said, there's always the horror aspect for pure entertainment. It has to be, there has to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Fanatical things that are happening that aren't really
Yeah.
gonna happen. Like the house isn't. I mean, I'm not gonna sit there and say the house isn't gonna curse nobody because it could. I believe in that kind of shit.
Yeah.
But the man turning into an actual piece of scrap metal, I'm gonna say, probably not gonna happen. It's exaggerated, but
Yes.
the meaning is there.
Yes.
So
Yeah. It's like they took you are what you eat, and
yeah. Oh God. Well, there's that
really,
girl again. That lady, the model.
oh, she eats models. She must be a model.
Yes. But then that other show that you had mentioned to me was God, the witches, the magica.
It is hold on, let me pull up the full name.
Yeah, because there's a whole name to it. It's like Maduku. No, I'm probably butchering this. Don't judge me, people.
It's Puella Magi Madoka Magica.
Madoka. All right, I wasn't too far off.
Yeah, it's typically called Madoka, and this one I put off for watching for so long because just by the look of it, I was like, this is like a cutesy little girl.
Well, the magic girls seem like stuck up.
They're magical girls. Like,
I liked The Witch.
There's
I only watched 2 episodes, but
there's not a lot of magical girl animes that I'm like super into, but I ended up watching all of Magica in one day.
One day, isn't there like 24 episodes?
Something like that.
But they're only like 22-minute episodes. So
I binged at the hardest level I could. It's marketed as cutesy, but it is one of the most nihilistic animes I have ever seen. It's
I have to watch it.
it's so fucked up and wonderful, and I love it so much. You're gonna love it too. I
like the cat thing. I don't like the cat thing. Okay. I mean, I feel like I know there's something weird there because the witch chick was definitely trying to kill it for a reason.
Would you like to make a contract?
Yeah, that is kind of weird. Very Ursula. It won't be much, just your voice.
It's so good. The minute that you finish it, you're gonna text me and be like, "What the fuck, Grace?"
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's so good. I love when you go in expecting one thing and you get something completely different.
That's how I felt about this, not an anime movie, but the movie I watched on Friday, Fresh.
Mm-hmm.
I had low expectations. I wrote a blog on it, so if you guys like blogs out there, check out thehorrorwithinme.com. My blog's on there. I do like mini movie reviews and things like that. But anyway, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I talked to you about it earlier. But no, I had like just I went in to find a movie to watch on Friday night that was a little horror, and I was very pleasantly surprised and unexpected to not what I thought. Like I was in my brain like, I already know what this is. You know what I mean? And like I wasn't completely wrong, but it was not
as it was more intense than you were expecting.
Yeah, I was like, oh. But anyway.
Yes.
That's kind of what am I going to say her name again? Madoka? No. Why do I keep saying this?
Puella Magi Madoka Magica.
Okay. Magica. We're going to call it Magica for short.
Sure.
Because I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
You can speak like Japanese, right?
Squishy. A little bit.
A little bit. Okay. You're going to have to teach me a little bit of this, but I need to know how to do it. I just know like konnichiwa. Isn't that like good morning or hello?
It's hello AM time for the parentheses.
Okay. I know that.
Yeah, so I think actual good morning is Oya suminasai.
Okay. I believe you.
The Japanese word for banana is banana.
Is it?
Yes. So there you go.
BANANAS.
Perfect.
No S. It's plural. But back to the J-horror anime world. Because it looks like we're running on time, but I want to get back on focus. What about future suggestions? Like I have the mini list that I've dived into. I think everything but the video game that you suggested, which I don't remember the name of, but I'll look at. I have it saved. Now that I'm researching this world, what other suggestions would you have for me or for our listeners to check out?
I'm so happy you asked. I have this beautiful little list here. So I tried to stick to just animes, and then I also threw in a couple K-dramas, just in case you're into like a more live action. So you want to segue
from J-horror to K-horror? Because it seems to be that's where we're headed. That seems to be what's becoming popular.
That's definitely what's becoming popular. I'm a diehard anime fan, but if you just need something a little more live actiony, then K-drama is where it's at.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with animes. I have a lot of classics on here that since you're new, you wouldn't have seen before. Akira.
Okay.
Which is a movie, and it's about a dystopian world. It's very, very, very good.
Okay.
It's a huge classic. Death Note, which is...
I've seen the live action Death Note.
Oh, terrible.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I not supposed to tell you that?
I've read the whole series. I watched it like when it came out.
Death Note was the first horror anime that I've heard of because my nephew, when he lived with me, was into anime and things like that. And he was into Death Note, and I bought him the book, or I don't want to call it a book. What do they call it?
The journals.
Manga?
The manga.
Manga. It's like a type of manga, right?
Yeah.
So he had that, and then he even kind of made fun of me too when I told him I watched the live action. He was, it was trash. And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. The anime is very, very good. Obviously, like nothing ever compares to reading the manga, but reading manga is very, very expensive. If you're an Android user, which I know you're not, then you can always get a Tachiyomi extension, but
nothing against you Android listeners out there.
I'm an Android user, so represent. We
accept all users here.
This is a
safe,
welcoming
place.
Home,
a welcoming horrific home.
Yeah, so
in all the good ways.
Death Note was like really like a kickoff of popularized mainstream horror. Like it's arguably not the greatest of all time, but it was big enough that like the manga was banned in Japan because people were making Death Notes and then killing people.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So it's very good. I love the plot and the context.
Yeah.
So definitely check that one out. Another classic is Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Okay.
Which is...
And you're going to send me a copy of this list, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I will. Because I wouldn't expect a lot of people like to even know how to pronounce half of these.
I can't. That's what I'm saying. Just type it into Netflix or Funimation or whatever streaming platform that you use.
Yes. Evangelion is a huge classic, and if you're into giant robots, there they are.
Okay.
School Live, which was another one that was marketed as like cutesy anime schoolgirls, and apparently by the end of the first episode, you're gonna be like, "What the fuck?"
Okay, they have a thing for like big-breasted girls in Japan, right?
Yes,
in anime or in like even like the video games, they're all like big-breasted girls, and
yeah,
they always have titties. Weird camera angles on them.
Yeah, we love titties.
Their asses are always flat as hell, though.
Yeah, well,
none of them have an ass, but anyway.
Moving on. The Promised Neverland. The promise is that you'll cry.
Okay.
That's a very good one.
Okay.
Maruko-chan, which I believe you can find on Funimation.
Okay.
Wonder Egg Priority, which you would think would be like a cutesy.
It sounds like Wonder Egg. Isn't that a candy? Didn't they use
Kinder Eggs is what you're thinking of.
No, the Wonder Eggs.
Oh, Wonder Eggs, yeah.
Do you remember them?
Yeah, they had like stickers inside.
They stuck inside the chocolate eggs or something.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Wonder Egg Priority, you would think like it sounds like it would be bright and like kind of
Willy
weird.
Wonka, but like maybe the Tim Burton version where it's actually terrifying.
Yeah, no, it's nice and colorful, but it's from like even in the first episode, it's like it's very dark. It's bright colored, but very dark. Which we love to see. Akudama Drive is another one that is really good. This one was actually suggested to me by one of my friends from high school, and I watched it so fast. It was messed up. It was, like you get attached to characters and then like they get hurt and you're like, oh my God, they're gonna die. And like, it was just suspenseful.
I love getting attached to characters. There's nothing worse to me than watching something with no character depth.
Yes. I need to be like emotionally attached to these people before they die.
I need to be at least attached to the main character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Horror movies are notoriously made. There's bad for some time.
Yeah, there's tons of other recommendations that I could make that are like mainstream and like super popular right now, but like fuck it. These I know firsthand are very good and that you would like them.
Okay.
For anybody that's screaming, why aren't you recommending Attack on Titan? We fucking get it. We know.
Attack on Titan. I don't know that, and I'm guessing I don't want to.
No, it's very good. It's just so big right now.
Oh, it's overdone.
I'm like just so fucking tired of it, and it's like the final half of the last season dropped, and like we'll get to it later.
Yeah,
we'll just get to it later.
We'll get to it when it's not. Well, that's the thing about me is that I like mainstream things too, but I also like to find the things that other people aren't doing. It's just it's a weird mix because, like I said, like even with my Twitch channel, right now all I'm doing right now is Dead by Daylight, and that is so saturated.
Yes,
it is overly saturated, but I'm not doing it for, because
it's popular right now.
Yeah, because it's popular. Just because I'm into horror, I'm into like what it represents as a whole. Like there's so many different killers and like the survivors I like, and like different playing with friends. I think it's SWF. Survive with Friends. Yeah. And I like doing that.
That's cute.
So I like to play it and stream it. And if you're into like mindless streaming where, it's not too serious, like I'm on there, I'm playing with people and I'm laughing, I'm making fun of myself, I jump, I scream. That's my kind of entertainment.
I love that.
If that's your kind of entertainment, you should be watching that. If you're coming to my channel to watch me do things that you're trying to learn how to do, I'm not your guy. For some parts of Dead by Daylight, yes, but I'm not walking you through tutorials like, make sure the second before you hit the pallet drop. Like that's not my not my brand.
This is not instructional. This is
pure entertainment, pure fun, lighthearted. Just come have fun. We want to build a community of people that are like us, that are probably a little weird, quirky. and just kind of share our ideas, geek out over all this stuff, like, like J-horror, anime, and
Yes.
the fact that the chick from The Ring is coming to Dead by Daylight. Like, so excited. My niece keeps texting me, like, I can't wait until this week, and she was terrified of things. Like, she was so young, like, when J-horror was popular in America, and that's the horror that she grew up on.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the horror I grew up on. I grew up on Halloween, Friday 13th, things like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, anyone out there that has suggestions for us in the J-horror, or now, I guess, K-horror,
yeah,
let us know.
Oh, yeah. I only have 4 titles written down for you.
Okay.
But I'm going to need you to watch all of them.
Okay. What do we have?
All of Us Are Dead, which is the new zombie flick that just dropped.
Okay.
I love watching the zombie transitions. They're terrifying.
Okay.
I also want to preface with, I hate zombie stuff.
Yeah.
Hate it.
I like zombie stuff. I'm scared of dead people.
I love this show. It's very good. Squid Games, which was mainstream like a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
It's worth the watch. It's so good.
Okay.
Alice in Borderland, which is very similar to Squid Game, but I feel like it got less attention. Still very good. And then Sweet Home is the one with the Imagine Dragons songs in it.
God.
Which is...
I have a song playing in my head. I'm not going to sing it, but it's...
It was good besides that.
All right. I mean, once it starts playing, I'm going to call you. Every time the song plays, I'm just going to hit dial.
Yeah.
You're like, here it is again.
Yeah, so those are my recommendations for now. If anybody's looking for more recommendations, you can probably find me on social media somewhere. Yes.
Or just drop a comment on the podcast. We'll make sure Grace gets it. Or, come to our website. I also have a social media for The Horror Within Me.
Yep.
We are on Facebook, Instagram. Find us that way. Drop anything. Drop, what you want us to cover next. The world of horror is
vast.
Yes. But I do want to thank you so much for coming. This is always a pleasure to get to sit down with you and talk and get lost in worlds that you don't normally get lost in. So for that, I thank you. I hope you will come back and join us again.
Anytime. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right. That's all the time we have for this week's episode. Please go and rate and review this episode with what you liked, what you didn't like about it, and help a fellow horror fan out. Also, for more Horror Within Me content, head on over to my website, thehorrorwithinme.com. There you'll find my blog and my social media channels that will keep you updated on all the spooky things I'm doing or planning on doing. And until next time, stay spooky.